We have a beautiful day here at Christ Community Chapel here in Hudson, Ohio. Welcome to Cruisin. I'm Handy Randy. We're at the Hudson Chapel. Wonderful car show, great weather. Obviously, our prayers have been answered. Let's get busy looking at great cars here on Cruisin.
Well, I've had this car approximately 11 years. I traded a 72 Nova for it. The interior is 100% original. The vinyl top is original. The body has been repainted, but it's all original sheet metal.
Is this an original color and has it been repainted?
It's been repainted. It's sunset gold.
You see a lot of the 70, 71, 72 Monte Carlos. They're pretty close to the same. You know in the car, what are the subtle differences in those 3 years? This is a pretty long wheelbase, so therefore you would expect a pretty decent, nice, cushiony ride.
Yeah, it rides great, especially when you mash on it. You know, it nails you down. It just squats and goes. You know.
Of all the things on these Monte Carlos, what is it the one thing that you like most about this car?
I'd say the styling on it, and because there wasn't, it was only made for 3 years with this body style on it, and also enjoy the bucket seats and the console in it.
It's got that nice long hood on it. A little bit difficult sometimes to jump out of a minivan and into this car and drive it and go around tight corners.
Yeah, you have to kind of float around the corner with it. You know, you have such a big hood on it, and I've had Camaros and Novas, and they were about as big as this front end was.
Was this in a magazine or eBay? How did you come across the car?
No, I traded for it down at Winks one night. We had a semi-pro street Nova, and I took it down. I told my wife, I said, we're not going to come back with this car, and we didn't. So I said, I'll go ahead and I'm going to trade it.
Bruce, we love your car. Thank you so much for sharing it here on Cruisin.
Thanks for having me.
Jim, 1948. Is it an ambulance? Is it a hot rod? Is it a hearse?
It's a combination hearse ambulance, and it's been, hot rodded.
Now, your wife tells me that you've had it going way too fast.
Yes, it's been around Charlotte, been around Texas, been around Indy, Norwalk, and it's been up around 100. I've been past some cars, not supposed to, but I do.
Now, did you find this like already done, or tell us about that then?
It came out of California. I bought it from Pictures. It was original condition. The interior was hanging down and dents and black and just a mess. But my brother-in-law, Bud Clapp, and myself did it in 6 months and had it on the road.
Who made the decisions on the paint job?
The wife and I went to Hopkins and Kip and went through the chips, and that's what we picked out.
Excellent choice. Now on the inside, it looks as if like I mentioned, ambulance and hearse. It's got a little bit of both still on the inside of the back.
Yes, I took the rollers out and I took the curtain rods down, but I have them.
Well, I'm going to have to say that this thing is one of a kind, Jim.
I've been saying that for many years.
And your wife tells me you're one of a kind.
Yeah, pretty much.
More to come from the chapel here in Hudson on Cruisin. Now back to Cruisin the Chapel in Hudson. Bob, beautiful 34 Chevrolet 3-window coupe. Usually when I hear 3-window coupe, I think of Ford.
That's one of the reasons that we thought that when we were looking for a street rod that we wanted to get a Chevy, because although there are beautiful 34 Fords, we wanted something a little different, and that's why we were able to find this.
And you really don't see a lot of these.
No, sir, you don't.
Lovely, unusual, old school paint job. Tell us about it.
Well, when I retired, I got a job with a car company delivering parts. And we wanted a street rod, and every place I went, I said, do you know anyone that wants to sell a street rod? And when I was in Salem, a gentleman said, go up the road and talk to this engineer from Goodyear, and he may want to sell his 34. Well, Kathy and I went up and we saw it, and it took us 5 minutes to say yes, and that's why we have it.
Now, when you bought this car in Salem, Ohio, did you buy it as is?
Yes, sir. What you see, physically what you see. The gentleman had it. It was strictly a trailer show car. He did very well throughout Pennsylvania and Ohio. He said, you know, I'll have it roll back to your home. I said, oh no, I'll be glad to drive it home. He said, no, well, roll back it. Well, when Kathy and I had our maiden voyage, we got about a mile from the house, and the car locked up, the brakes locked up. So 6 months later, thanks to Ron Fuller in Chagrin Falls, we were able to make sure that it can be driven. And we've had 10,000 miles on it since we've had it since '02.
Every once in a while, you know, there's gravel trucks out there, and God forbid you would get behind a gravel truck.
I've had that wonderful experience before, sir. Yes, that's why we put this on. The last show last year was in Minerva, and coming home, I got behind a truck and bang. So I took it to our super duper painters in Mansfield, and Brian fixed it back up, and I said, no more of this. The bra is going to go on. So that's why we have the bra on.
And again, it's really a remarkable automobile. Great work. It's like rolling art, Bob.
Thank you. People have received it very well. They compare it to ZZ Top. I just haven't gotten the beard because it's too hot in the summertime, and I don't want to shave. So yes, we've been very, very, very fortunate.
Well, thank you so much. You and your lovely wife, you got a great car, and you really add to the excitement here at this particular car show, especially this show honoring John Shapiro.
Yes.
And John was a fan of your car.
We're very humbled that you would select our car, and thank you so much.
I bought this car in North Carolina in 2002, and it was a basket case. The gentleman that I bought it from had purchased it and planned on rebuilding it to be a driver, but he got in a little bit too deep with it and couldn't do it. So he bought another car that was a driver, but it was a little bit better than this one, but not too much, but at least it was drivable. So anyhow, I bought this case, this is a basket case, and brought it home and took it the rest of the way apart and completely redone the whole car from 2002 to 2005. So I finally got it done in 2005, and I've had it all this time, and it's been a lot of fun taking it to car shows and cruising around with it and just enjoying it. It's a great hobby to have.
Now, are you afraid to take this out on the road and drive it?
Oh no, it's very drivable. That everything on it is new, so it rides nice and very comfortable to drive. I don't think I'd like to drive it to California, but driving it around here, it's a great deal to be able to do it.
Now, do you find the red to be difficult to maintain? And
no, it does kind of show the spots. We were talking about that earlier, that you got to watch when you're cleaning it and everything. You think you have everything clean, and then you don't, but it's an ongoing thing that you just have to wipe it off now and then. I don't wash it. I always wipe it off because you get water down in the cracks of it, and that causes rust. So.
Was it difficult to find all the parts and pieces and the little chrome knickknacks?
It was a little bit, but I found a gentleman in Montana that had a lot of the parts that I needed, and then great Chevy, that they had just about everything else that I needed. And I did do a lot of extra things to it, like I put disc brakes on it and digital dash to make it more drivable.
Now, did you have your eye out for a convertible and this particular make and model?
Yes, I did. I had a 60 back years ago. Actually, it was a 6-cylinder stick in the copper color, And I don't know, I just always enjoyed that car and wanted another one. So eventually when I started looking for one, that I bought this one and got what I wanted.
Being such a long car, do you find it difficult to maneuver?
No, that when I first started driving it, I kind of felt like when I go to back it up with the top down that I was looking over the deck of a ship or something in the back. But then I got used to it and it's gotten a lot better now.
So from now on, we can call you Captain Ed as you're driving your land yacht around.
Yeah, there you go. That's fine.
What is the favorite thing about this particular automobile for you?
Probably the fins on the back. As a matter of fact, the other day I was taking a picture of the fins and the taillights. I noticed a lot of people take pictures of it, that's where they go to. Every time they go to the fins and the taillights and get that picture. They're probably mounted on their wall somewhere.
So we can say that you have a fin fetish now.
Yeah, there you go.
Next up.
LED headlights with that change colors and everything else. And typical aftermarket stuff, the LED bulb did not fit in the original headlight buckets.
The Buckeye guys on Cruisin'.
All right, once again, we're back here at the Buckeye Classic Car Restoration Shop. We're talking about time and material building style. Don and I have Dave here again as well. What we have here is a 1965 Mustang behind us, and the customer wanted LED headlights with that change colors and everything else. And typical aftermarket stuff, the LED bulb did not fit in the original headlight buckets, so a lot of customization was done, wiring the harness, and Dave's going to show us a little bit how you did that, Dave, and explain to us how much time that took to make them even fit in the car.
Okay. Because these aren't original pieces, and whenever they repop them, they try and make them as close as they can to the originals, but that doesn't always mean they're going to work. So it's as simple as you got to carve out the actual back of the buckets that they sit into, and you got to make sure that all your holes line up properly, because even there's posts here, but even from original to these, they don't fit, so you got to adjust those. And then a couple things about the wiring that you want to make sure. Just because blue is power on the factory harness does not necessarily mean that blue will be power for this headlight, or blue will be power for the LEDs, or blue will be power for the turning lights, because they're all hooked in together. So one thing that's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of headache, instead of soldering everything together, final connection, you want to actually just twist all the connections together by hand and make sure, go through all the systems, make sure the headlights turn on, make sure that the running lights turn on, make sure that LEDs will turn on with the headlights, and then make sure all the turn signals work.
Now, Dave, when you did that too, the original headlight rings did not fit either to retain the bulb, so we had to custom make those too, custom modify them. We actually shrunk them about a ½ inch, correct, to hold the bulb in place.
Yeah, because these bulbs are actually a little bit, or these cases are actually a little smaller in diameter, so whenever you screw, there's little beauty rings that go around here. Whenever you tried to screw it on, it would actually slip past it, and it's stuff that's just as simple as that. Something that should take a matter of 5 to 10 minutes, it actually ended up taking a couple hours.
We actually had 24 hours installing headlights in this car.
Yeah.
And as a restoration shop, that is very difficult to pass it on to the customer. So on our invoices, we show customer credit and bill them for time that allowed, and we usually, their job should take about 3 or 4 hours to custom put those in. We ate about 18 hours time on that job, correct, Don?
Absolutely. But just to touch on what Dave was saying, with mocking up the headlights before you completely install them, that on the front end will save you a lot of time down the road. If you were to completely solder them and use the heat shrink and then find out that there's an issue, you got to tear it all back apart and start over basically. So that's one recommendation I would make.
Wiring on a classic car, when you update it to a new style harness with the fuses, they're all very difficult. They're all runs of wire 30 feet long, and you got to make every connector to the accessories, and it's time consuming. You could have 3 or 4 weeks wiring a car.
Oh,
I mean, easily done.
Okay, one thing that you want to remember whenever you are bringing your car to Nate, to get it done, is you want to have a master game plan going. It's as simple as, I could have had all the wiring done with the front of this car, you know, he could have got built for 10 hours or such or whatever it would have taken. And then he calls Nate and he tells him, oh wait, I want to put LEDs in the front of this car. All right, now you have, you know, cost of Don taking his time ordering all the parts, and then you have me taking everything that I just put in there back out and then resoldering all different connections. And then you can't get necessarily mad at Nate because, okay, why do I have to pay once again to cut wires that you already did? Well, it doesn't.
Right, you want to master a game plan when you're doing customization of cars. Basically, if you're going to lay out your car for your project, we can step you through that the whole way of your project here at Buckeye Classic Car Restoration. From sheet metal to finished product, we can walk you through the steps, you know, help you with options you want and options we recommend. And we're becoming more and more sticklers for saying this is what we're going to use and basically stick to it. We used to let customers pick some options, but some of them are very difficult to install and too time consuming. So we've just generalized on a few options we do anymore. But if you want to spend the extra money and get some, you know, crazy rear end setup, we can put that in. It's just time and material, right, Don?
Absolutely. Like both Dave and Nate said, the biggest thing on my end is, you know, having the customer do their homework. I can only offer so much advice. You know, it's going to take some sitting down and reading on the customer's end to figure out exactly what they want and have an idea what you want when you bring the car in. Once we get rolling, you know, it's very expensive and very time consuming to change your mind and, you know, choose a different route. So
midstream changing your mind is very expensive.
Absolutely.
Because you're always redoing work.
Yep. At
Buckeye Classic Car Restoration, you're going to call and ask for Don. Dave's here almost every day too. Actually, Dave is here every day. and we can meet your needs. We can do anything for you, Don. We can do paint, body work, customization, wiring, you name it. We can do it here at Buckeye Classic Car Restoration. Give us a call at 330-533-4757. We have immediate openings for paint and body work.
More to come on Cruisin the Chapel here on Cruisin right after the break.
From project to pride and joy, the restoration specialists at Buckeye Classic Car Restoration can make your dreams come true. Our master body, paint, and mechanical technicians have over 100 years of experience. They do research, can communicate every detail of the restoration process, and their restorations win big-time awards. Buckeye Classic Car Restoration cars have been winning awards since 2001. Let the restoration specialists at Buckeye Classic Car Restoration turn your project into an award winner.
Now back to Cruisin the Chapel in Hudson.
I think 28 years, maybe 29 years ago, my son came to me and said, Dad, I know where there's a car and it's sitting on a hill in South Carolina. And he said, the guy only wants $1,200 for it, but it's immaculate shape. Well, you know how my kids are, they don't know what immaculate shape is. So we went down there and I just had to get it for him. So I brought it back. When I got it back, that sun, it actually came from Arizona, the guy told me. After I thought it was North Carolina. And the sun, it ate the entire interior out of it. And so it was just absolutely in there. There were mice up in the headliners. And so I started working on it myself, and I had it in a barn on Butternut. Big old barn. I had it in the barn, and it was, because I didn't have any other room, and that's where I put it, in the barn. And so we decided, well, the first thing we got to do is get seats in this car so we can drive it. It was drivable. It started up. Well, I had to drive it. I had to follow it. My kid sat on an egg crate and drove all the way to Findlay. And the guy did the whole car. And so brought it back, put it in the garage, and never given another thought for 10 years, 15 years. And I said, listen, what are you going to do with this car? He said, I'll tell you what, Dad, I don't want it. I said, what? You don't want it? Here I bought the whole thing figuring I was even going to help him with the money and everything, and now he didn't want it. So I talked to my wife and I said, let's go ahead and do it ourselves. So the whole thing is taken me about 5 years to get it where it's at. And now it's a show car. And every place I go, I'm not bragging or anything, but every place I go, I get trophies. I have a mantle at home full of trophies, and every year I take the trophies and put them down the basement, and then I'm starting a new set now. And I just love the car, and it rides just like you're in your bed, you know, just what a beautiful car.
These things are loaded with chrome, but one of the remarkable things about this car, and what they're well known for, are the Dagmars.
Right.
Tell us about those.
Yeah, the Dagmars. They everybody wants to know what they are. You know, sometimes I say, oh, they're Marilyn Monroe's. Then another guy will come by and say, no, those are Dagmars. But yeah, everybody loves the Dagmars.
Tom, it's just a wonderful, beautiful automobile. I'm sure it rides like a dream, and I don't blame you. I would hate to be think about going down Interstate 76 and seeing a stone bouncing in front of me on the highway.
Yeah, we're scared of that too.
This is Handy Randy from the Cruisin at Hudson Chapel. Beautiful day, over 500 cars for charity. Glad you watched. We'll see you next week on Cruisin'.